Hi, thanks for watching. Okay, so most of what I do on this channel has to do with psychology and true crime. Okay, so I'd like you guys to look at this clip, okay, from the Biden-Trump debate and tell me if this doesn't have to do with someone's psychological condition and if this isn't a crime on some level. And I mean a very serious crime.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with.
And all politics aside, let's not forget that the United States is probably the most important country in the world.
Everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
Okay, so I don't really look at this as so much a crime on Biden's part. Biden is just an old man, okay? I don't think he has enough individual power to, let's say, hijack a country, right? So who is hijacking our country?
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all. And he looked, I'll give you the analysis. You kind of have the old man versus the con man. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man.
Okay, people like this are people who are probably very close to who is hijacking our country right now. And we can say the same thing about Republicans, but let's just talk about the Democrats for a second, because this is very severe. Okay, and what really comes out of Van Jones's mouth is, oh, I love this man. He's a good man. Okay, give me a break. All right. First of all, Biden has a lot of issues. Okay, Biden has a lot of conflict of interest in Ukraine. Okay, and the war in Ukraine could have been prevented with a more decisive leadership, and many thousands and thousands of people have been killed because of that war. So at that high level of global politics, I don't think it's important how you personally feel about somebody or your personal loyalty. Okay, this is way above personal loyalty. And so the people who end up holding this guy up in public, these like enablers, whatever, they are effectively hijacking this country.
I too was on the phone throughout much of the debate with Obama world people, with Democrats, with people who are political operatives, with campaign operatives. My phone really never stopped buzzing throughout. And the universal reaction was somewhere approaching panic.
So it comes right out of Joy Reid's mouth. Okay, she mentions Obama, and party operatives. You see, this is they're letting it out of the bag. They're admitting who's taking control of this country. Party operatives, an ex-president. And isn't it true that back in the last election, in the primaries, Biden was having trouble? Okay, and wasn't it true that Obama had to pull shenanigans behind the scenes? Because wasn't it true that I think it was Elizabeth Warren? She was like beating Biden. And so Obama had to pull party tricks like behind the scenes to get Biden to win, I think, a South Carolina primary. So this is really alarming to me, that the people are being deprived of a meaningful menu of candidates because you have behind the scenes people who think they know better, and oops, oh, wow. And now they're surprised. Okay, well, let me tell you something. Even 15 or 16 years ago in 2008, okay, Biden, when he was even a vice presidential candidate, you could tell that he was aging.
Well, that's what I've done my whole career, Gwen, on very controversial issues, from dealing with violence against women to putting 100,000 police officers in the street to trying to get something done about the genocide that was going on in Bosnia. And I have been able to reach across the aisle. I think it's fair to say that I have almost as many friends on the Republican side of the aisle as I do the Democratic side of the aisle.
Okay, that was 16 years ago. 16 years ago, right? He was in his mid 60s. Okay, he's over 80. He's like 81 or 82 now. Okay, he's in his 80s. But the thing is we're so used to seeing old people. Okay, and this is really a problem. I mean, it's Nancy Pelosi, it's Chuck Schumer, it's all these people. We're so used to seeing and Mitch McConnell too, right? I mean, Republican and Democrat. But we're so used to seeing old people. Okay, we forget what people look like when they're actually in the prime of their lives. Even if you take Biden back when he was in his 50s, okay, in the prime of his life, Look at the difference.
Oh, I couldn't have done as well as Clinton by a long shot. He did a first-rate job tonight. I think if someone had had amnesia the last 4 years and came back and tuned this in, they'd assume it was a two-person race, Clinton and Perot. I mean, I was dumbfounded. The president, he wasn't even in it. I mean, he didn't get it. Doesn't understand. I don't know what's going on.
What's the big difference?
The fundamental difference is you got a guy who still is stuck in the past in everything. I mean, what skills he had as a leader in the Cold War are irrelevant. Here's a guy saying keep 150,000 troops in Europe, but don't go near Bosnia. Well, what the hell are they there for? I mean, there's no Soviet Union. There's no threat.
Although now here we see like a little foreshadowing of the problem we see now in Ukraine. Okay, this underestimating of Russia. Okay, and that's maybe the difference between somebody who knows how to play chess versus somebody like Biden who really just plays checkers. If you play checkers, you look at the downfall of the Soviet Union and you say, oh, they're a non-entity. Someone who plays chess understands in global politics, geopolitics. A large country like Russia, even if they're going to change the regime, they still have control, and we ought to still respect their region in the world, right? And so right there, we're starting to see that Biden, even though he's way much more lucid and much more mentally sound back then, you can see that he already showed the signs of being a checkers player as opposed to a chess player.
I happen to believe we should keep troops in Europe. I think 100,000 is more than enough for pre-positioning purposes. But, I mean, he has no clue. And I thought the best one was trying to convince American people not an economic problem. Yeah, right. Oh, that was good. That was real good. I like that.
So I think anybody seeing Biden in the prime of his life when he was in his 50s, I think they can tell it's just clear as a bell, okay, that even 16 years ago, he was starting to kind of go down the hill, right? And so I think even 4 years ago, I think a responsible American public would have said, this is ridiculous, okay? And I think they were starting to show that indirectly because even 4 years ago, Biden was not initially winning in the primaries, okay? He wasn't. It wasn't until Obama and party operatives started doing machinery and maneuvers behind the scenes, okay? It wasn't until they started operating behind the scenes, people like Obama, that somehow artificially Biden started, let's say, in quotes, winning in the primaries, starting with the South Carolina primary, right? So if you take away all these party operatives and all this interference with a normal democratic process, a guy like Biden, he would have been too old even 4 years ago. And the mainstream press has sort of been in this sort of kind of denial that even for the past 4 years, we've had really an impaired president.
Now, just to get here, Liberty and Bell had to beat some tough odds, competition. They had to work hard to show patience and be willing to travel over 1,000 miles.
I was dumbfounded. The president, he wasn't even in it. I mean, he didn't get it.
You could say even this harder than getting a ticket to the Renaissance tour or Britney's tour. She's down in, it's kind of warm in Brazil right now.
A ticket to the Renaissance tour. It's really warm in Brazil right now. I mean, this guy is absolutely incoherent, okay? And he's been incoherent for more than 4 years, okay? And he's trying to run again. It's a joke. It's absolutely a joke, okay? And the only reason why we even pretend it's not a joke is because of these political operatives that prevent a real primary and prevent a real democratic process. Even 4 years ago, Biden shouldn't have been legitimately, I don't think, the Democratic choice. But, the powers that be, we got these big powers behind the scenes, okay? So I think that's a crime because people like Obama and all these party operatives who think they know better than we do, they're holding the country hostage. And I think that's a crime. I think it's a true crime. I think it's a very serious crime. Okay. Now, that said, I'm not a Trump supporter. Okay. I think Trump himself is looking pretty old these days.
Mental institution, something you deal with a lot. You know more about a mental institution than I do. That's your world. It's what you do better than anybody, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I don't think Dr. Phil works in a mental institution. And also Trump, he's kind of he's not looking so good these days, to be honest. I'm just being honest. He's getting old. He's almost 80 years old.
The United States of America has become a dumping ground because of a very mentally deficient president. But he's not at the top of his game, and he never was very good at it. And he's dealing with all of these leaders of these countries they don't like the United States. They don't like what it represents. And they are at the top of their game.
Okay, and I totally agree. The issue right now is people not being at the top of their game. And that reflects on the United States not being at the top of its game. Okay, and what would prevent a country of more than 300 million people of being at the top of its game? Oh gosh, people like Obama, people like party operatives on both sides, okay? Because even the Republicans, I'm sorry, Donald Trump, he may have been some kind of superhero at one time in his life, okay? But don't say that right now Donald Trump is at the top of his game. He's not, okay? So what is keeping our country from having people at the top of their game, okay? In my opinion, I think the parties themselves, they have so much internal mechanisms, they have so much, I guess, of their own internal operatives that they decide for the public who is better for the public to have. We get to vote artificially, but they give us the menu, okay? And my complaint is that we don't even have a good menu. The menu itself is unacceptable, okay? And that is not the fault of the people necessarily, it's the part of the party operatives. That said, I do think that the public is a little bit complicit in the sense that the public just kind of goes along with the game. Okay, I think the American public needs to kind of wake up, okay, and not just accept the menu that's fed to us. Okay, the public has to say, look, this is ridiculous, and make it more obvious. Okay, and so I think the public also has some blame. I think for whatever reason, I think the American public's a little bit passive. I think we're a little bit docile. I think we sort of let the media sort of feed us. We let the political parties sort of feed us the menu. But I think at some point we need to wake up and say, look, this is a country of 300 million people. Okay, this cannot be the best menu. Okay, we have a guy like Trump who's on the way downhill. He's not at the top of his game. But then Biden has been mentally incompetent for more than 4 years already. Okay, so to me that's a crime. And I would say it's the crime of hijacking a nation, okay, a powerful nation, right? But I do think that the people of the nation do have something to say about it. And so we shouldn't be such easy victims. And I think if we were a little bit less passive, I think the American public wouldn't be such an easy victim of what is clearly a crime. Okay, anyway, this to me, this is true crime. So anyway, my opinion, and thanks for watching.